They just pick away at you.
So what do you think about this recent situation at Colombia where that one protest organizer has now been detained by ICE and possibly going to be deported for exercising free speech, First Amendment? He is in terms of the facts, he is not a U.S. citizen. He is a green card holder. And now he has been detained and he could be deported. A lot of people on the conservative side are making the case that this guy he's not an American. He's not for American values. We need to get rid of him. But if you look at it from the constitutionality perspective, which is also one of a conservative ideal, he didn't really violate any laws. He didn't commit a crime. So
just a quick break before this video continues. If you haven't signed up for Soju yet, go check it out, soj.oo. It's a social discussion platform that we've created. That's where the community is hanging out. Definitely worth checking out, soj.oo. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, do it now.
Well, they're talking about deporting him.
Deporting him.
Yeah. Deleting him from the United States.
And the idea is that he is...
Yeah, Mahmoud Khalil, that guy right there.
Colombia. Where is this? Colombia protester. Is he a student? A Columbia University student.
Yes.
And he was using a green card.
Yes.
I think that's really dangerous. I don't like that at all. Because constitutionally, because the Constitution matters. It's literally the framework which the country runs. And it's what protects our freedoms. And the Constitution and our constitutional rights applies to everyone within the country. Not just American citizens.
That's some of the argument is thrown out there is, does the U.S. Constitution apply to people who are not American?
But it does.
That's what I think.
Well, I think that's explicitly clear. I didn't know that was a debate. Is that a debate?
That is a debate right now because the Trump administration is making the case that he's not American. He is here to sow dissent in our country, and he's causing chaos, and we don't want this guy here.
I think that's really dangerous because now we're moving goalposts again.
Really?
You know? Right?
Well, that's what I mean.
Palestinian activist who helped lead student protests at Columbia University faces deportation after being arrested over the weekend by federal immigration officials. President Donald Trump has warned that the apprehension of Mahmoud Khalil, a legal permanent resident, represents the first arrest of many as his administration cracks down on campus opposition to the war in Gaza. But a federal judge temporarily blocked 30-year-old's expulsion from the country. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that was an argument, by the way. That's a new argument that recently came into public conversation, is that do constitutional rights only apply to U.S. citizens? And it's not even he was on a temporary visa.
Right.
He was not on a student visa. He had a permanent green card.
Yeah. Well, he's permanent resident.
Permanent resident. So he had like an actual green card.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. What do you think?
Well, I think this is pretty naked in terms of like who they're trying to protect, because this is the free speech administration. The thing is, like, you have to. I always try to measure things against. Okay, what did you run on, and what are you doing now? Right. I think nobody who's honest can say that Trump ran on a anti-free speech platform. He was obviously a pro-free speech platform. So they're saying, hey, I mean, these are the guys who are saying, hey, college campuses, there should be no safe spaces. Like, that's bullshit. Like, we need to remove all of those things and we need to have real conversations. This guy is having a real conversation. A lot of people don't like this particular conversation. And now, like you said, I think they're moving goalposts to make the case that, yeah, I mean, because you could argue that, okay, yes, this guy is sowing dissent in America. Maybe that's true. But are we a country that allows dissent? Right? Or are we a country that says, okay, here are our norms and values. You cannot deviate from these norms and values. To me, I don't believe that. I think what makes America great is our ability to say, hey, I don't like your idea. I'm going to go with this idea and then see who wins. Because, like, I mean, what's the difference? If we just have one set of values, what's the difference between the U.S. and, let's say, a dictatorship who's like, hey, you have to believe in this religion. You can't dissent from the dictator, whatever he says is true. Then what's the difference? You know, I don't really understand that now. So this I think is an interesting, I think, case to see. Okay, where are we headed in terms of free speech in America?
Because I think it's especially dangerous when you do it on college campuses. I think on college campuses, you have to let them protest a little bit. Maybe they err on the side of maybe a little extra rebellious over the gray. But that's where change happens. That's where these kids learn to think, to be critical of the world around them. I think that's a very dangerous place to implement control.
Well, that's exactly why they're implementing it, because like you said, that's the place where change starts. If you look at everything in the past, like where did the Vietnam War protests? It started on college campuses. Where did the protests against apartheid South Africa come from? They started on college campuses. So they know that this is like the seed that is growing. And they do not want this to grow. So it's like, okay, let's try to cut it off, right? They did this last summer with the encampments and things like that. They're trying to do their best to cut it off. I don't think it's possible at this point to cut it off, because once an idea has kind of proliferated into the public, I think people are wondering, well, what is he saying that's so bad? Let me look into what he said. And then people will say, well, I kind of agree with that. But then you can counteract that by making the punishment so harsh that it deters people's behavior, right? Maybe they agree with what he's protesting, but I need to protect my own family. I need to protect my job. I'm just going to say nothing because I don't want to be deported, or I don't want to get thrown in jail. And so then that's where you'll see this fight going, is to see how far are they willing to go to protect this issue, or is there at some point they said, you know what, Israel is just not worth it for us anymore. Let's reevaluate and let's come to a new consensus.
I mean, you take them, you plaster them on all the news. Everyone talks about them. You make an example, and in college campus, like, well, like I might not be able to get a job if I get arrested, if I end up like this guy. So maybe I'll calm down, and you kind of quell the momentum that they may have. I still think that's extremely dangerous. Obviously, I think that, especially in college campuses, because the conservatives were saying, oh, the liberals are indoctrinating. Yeah. They're indoctrinating the college kids. They're indoctrinating the youth. They're changing the way they view things. And then now they're for changing the way that the college kids view things. The conservatives used to say, the Constitution is a letter of the law, and it's exactly what it is. There's no fray from it. And liberals be like, no, like interpretation, like things change. And the conservatives say, no, like you can't change the Constitution. And now it's like, well, this one's different. Because, it's like really dangerous.
It doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply. Yeah. So it's these weird moving the goalposts. The conservatives are becoming more liberal and less constitutional than they once were, which I don't know. I think it worked better when, at least, even when we were losing, the conservatives were losing, at least we stood for something. And it's by sacrificing our values in order to just win. We're like giving up what made us conservative.
And the other thing that I want to call out too is how they apply the word terrorism in this situation too, because he is labeled a terrorist.
Really?
Yes. There's been multiple clips, members of Congress, including up to Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, saying that he's a terrorist. And this gets applied not only to him, but I'm curious to hear your take on this too, because Luigi Mangione, right, the guy who killed the CEO, United Healthcare, he's also under terrorism charges as well.
Interesting.
And to me, that is one of those things where, because once you label somebody as a terrorist, there's a whole bunch of new laws, or not new laws, but there's a whole bunch of laws that you can apply to this situation, right? The Patriot Act 2.0, whatever, all those things. Now we get a whole set of other things that we can work with. Otherwise, the opposite of that would be just, it's a crime. Like he committed a crime. Definitely, murdering. He murdered somebody. So allegedly. Okay. That is pre-trial. So allegedly he did that. So then let's charge him with that. But now if you get terrorism involved, then you start to basically say, all right, we're gonna do surveillance on people. We're gonna do all kinds of different things, which is why I think that term is applied. Now that obviously is a left. I think Luigi gets a lot more support from the left than the conservatives.
I know, free Luigi.
But I think it's a big problem because of who they need to protect, right? In this situation, in terms of the college campus, they're trying to protect Israel, right? They don't want this to get out of hand. In that scenario with Luigi, they're trying to protect their corporate donors, right? There's always people that parties they need to protect. And that comes down to like, okay, so who are the donors to your party? Like, who do you actually serve? Because I think we can probably all agree that most, if not all, politicians don't actually serve their constituents. They just serve the donors.
Thanks for watching the clip. If you want to see the full episode, click here. If you want to see more clips, click here.